Welcome to Distorted Opinions. I'm Kayla, and this week I am joined by Keisha and Ted. And today's topic is going to be one that, I think we have tried very hard over the last 2 years to make the show not political, and we're going to continue to do that. But this one's a little bit challenging to not have it be political to some extent, I think. We thought that we would feature artists of Ukraine to kind of support the artists from Ukraine right now in the best way that I think we kind of know how possible to support them. So I know I've been listening to a lot of different Ukrainian artists that I was not aware of before the last week or so. Ted, I think, is going to bring a different flavor of music to the show.
We're going back to the heavy style. We're going back to metal.
That's right. Back to the roots.
And I will say it was a rather fun adventure going through and just looking specifically for bands from my country that I only know a couple. But there were plenty more, and boy, I've got new favorite albums to talk about now. So it was a great learning experience. So a lot of good stuff. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Nice. I'm thinking what we might do at the end of the show, or not the end of the show, but for this episode is, Ted, if I can find, I'm sure your artists are probably on Spotify. The artists I listen to are on Spotify. Keisha, I know at least one of the artists that I've been listening to, you've been listening to.
Yes.
So what we might be able to do is create a playlist of Ukrainian artists and
eclectic, because I'm really going to bring the bottom out of heavy metal and death metal that's involved. But it'd be a fun mix because you're from just initial things, like you have like hip hop in there and other quote unquote lighter varieties of music that far more easy listening compared to some of the other end of things that I enjoy. So it could be quite a mix.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a wide variety amongst the artists that I listen to. There's definitely some hip hop in there. There's some more folksy kind of stuff, electronic. There are some what are described as rock bands, but I'm sure in comparison, they're fairly tame compared to probably the bands that you're bringing to the table today. So maybe I don't know if we want to kind of just like go back and forth and discuss, and then so I don't. Ted, I know you're eager to share some of your...
I'm curious. I'm generally curious how Ted went down this rabbit hole.
So, sure. I basically started my search, Ukraine metal, enter.
Yep.
And list.
Yep.
And obviously, the song of the week from a couple of weeks back, Ginger, came up. Ginger is probably one of the more mainstream metal bands for what they do, and they're from Ukraine. Fun fact about Ginger, none of the founding members are still in the band.
Huh. Okay.
That's
interesting.
Right? So Ginger, backstory, formed in 2009. They have 4 albums. First one released in 2014, 16, 19, and 2021. So Tatiana's voice, the lead singer, she is got insane versatility for just singing and can really belt super clean. And then in the same breath, switch it to the angriest growl at like the best of any female front person of metal group. So the musicianship in that group, super tight. They really know the craft really well. So they're very, very good band if you've never heard them. I know Pisces is probably their most well-known track. Has millions and millions of views on YouTube. But that's if you've just wanted to dabble, I think that's a good place to start for a Ginger track, because it gives you a full assortment of what the band can do, because it starts very clean. She sings very softly, and then the chorus kicks in, and then like she's just growling, and like it's really good. And then it cleans right up, and then she's going back into singing, and it's impressive, phenomenal. So that one definitely hands down well known. So that one wasn't a shock. One other one, or I suppose I'll talk about one more, and then we'll pick something else.
Go ahead. You're on a roll.
No.
So the next one that had come up in the list is this band called Khors, Khors. And I looked them up on YouTube, only had time to listen to one song. The song was called Beneath the Keen Edge of Time, and came off the 2020 album Where the World Acquires Eternity. And this band was formed in 2004. They have 7 full-length albums. The song itself, the band is classified as black metal, but this particular track goes between a more mellow, chill type of vibe, and then the chorus is black metal and heavy, and then bounces right back. So the contrast is rather notable, which I thought was pretty neat. So that was another one that I had never heard of the band, but I intrigued. I almost made that my song of the week just for something different, but I picked something else. So, but yeah, so one, obviously I knew. This one, brand new to me. So that was fun, and I'll definitely be checking out more of their stuff. They have 7 albums. There's a lot to work through. So yeah. So those are 2 of the 4 that I've picked up. So we'll pause there.
4.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Narrowed it down a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that was me. I listened to a lot of artists, but I kind of decided to just pick a few because I feel like we could be here for a while, definitely talking about the different music that's coming out of Ukraine, because there's a lot of very, very good music that it's kind of amazing to me to look at the number of plays from some of these artists, because I listen to all of my music on Spotify, and I know, Ted, you typically have found a lot of your music through YouTube these days, just through either
the recommendation algorithm is on point.
Yeah,
so,
it knows you
somehow. Yeah, I watch a lot of music videos, and it's like, you would like this. Holy cow, YouTube! I do. I do like this.
You should maybe be a little concerned.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I get it.
I mean, at least it's not Facebook with their sponsored ads. But
I'm glad that one's gone. So.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I know you find a lot of your music through YouTube these days. I tend to actually find a lot of music through TikTok, but also through Spotify. When it finishes playing a song, it'll kind of do the same thing where it'll take you to a recommended artist or recommended song that's kind of similar. So, I've been kind of looking at some of these different artists, and I just searched in Spotify Ukrainian artists, and it came up with a list of different artists, and I kind of just clicked through them and listened to some of the songs from as many of them as I could throughout the day. And there were definitely some that I listened to and I was like, oh, this is really good. And I listened to more of their songs than maybe some of the other artists, but I definitely listened to a lot of artists. So there could be a long list of artists that I could talk about, but I've narrowed it down a bit. One of the first that I listened to is kind of it's in a totally different direction from the music that you were listening to. And full disclaimer, I am surely going to butcher names.
None of us are fluent
speak Russian.
Speak Russian or Ukrainian or any understand the written Cyrillic languages. So it's going to be
apologies. We're going to try our best.
100%.
Yes.
I translated all my stuff, so it'll be okay.
Like that, it's forcing us to do that because it you get comfortable, right? But learning a different language works your brain and works your mind, and you get a little bit more of an understanding. And it's kind of beautiful, not gonna lie. So though the process is stressful, to say the least, I think it's pretty awesome that like to say that we're even trying is amazing.
Well, but Dave, it's traveling in general. I mean,
Exactly.
making yourself uncomfortable in a different place, and if none of us are traveling right now,
And this is a small inconvenience, so we're gonna try our best.
Pat myself on the back.
Gold sticker.
Oh goodness.
So no worries, Kayla. General listeners, we apologize in advance. Feel free to correct us or teach us.
Yes.
For best
With a voice
pronunciation.
message, even.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah. Shameless
Yes.
plug. Send a
Yes.
voice message.
We've got
Voice message on Linktree.
Anchor. Yes.
Anchor.fm/assorted opinions. Leave us a voice
Please.
message if you can pronounce any of the things we're butchering.
Right. Yes, because it's going to happen, and it's going to happen right now. So the first artist that I discovered, and this one I started with Google, and I just put in Ukrainian artists because I have no idea any Ukrainian artists before we kind of decided to do this. And it came up, there was a website that it was supposedly the top 10 Ukrainian artists. And the first one on the list was Daka Braka, Dakhabrakha. And I guess it translates to give and take.
Okay.
So interestingly enough, this group is actually touring the US right now, and they're playing a show in Holyoke, which we're in Massachusetts. So for those who aren't in this area, Holyoke is maybe like an hour west of us. Yeah. And I was really surprised to see that they were touring, and they were touring here in the US, which I just noticed when I was looking at their kind of bio section of their Spotify page earlier. But they're from Kyiv, and they're a folk quartet, and they basically describe in their bio that they combine various ethnic styles. And it's kind of interesting because I saw a couple of groups that are part of an art center project, and I'm not 100% sure what exactly that means, because I feel like that might be something different than what I envision an art center project to be. I don't know if they're like formed from a music school or something, but anyway, they're part of the Dhaka Contemporary Art Center project, and they're led by producer Vladislav Troitsky. And they use traditional Indian, Arabic, African, Russian, and Australian instruments. So there's a real, I mean, you want to talk about eclectic, there's going to be an eclectic playlist, and then there's this one group that's just like, there's a lot of eclectic. Their music, and so this I thought was interesting too, their music's been used in the soundtracks for the film Bitter Harvest, which was a Canadian film, and the TV series Fargo, which I've watched just about every season of Fargo except for the first one. And when I heard some of their songs, I definitely got Fargo vibes. If you've ever watched the show, there's a particular style of music that's just fitting for that show. And so it wasn't surprising at all when I saw that they had used some of their music in Fargo, because it definitely fits the bill for that. But they have one track in particular that I found myself kind of going back to a few times called Baby. And it's because we were kind of last week, we were on a theme of like vintage soul vibes. And this track fits the vintage soul vibe theme. There's a nice mix of different instruments. Interesting mix of instruments. I'm pretty sure I heard harmonica in there, cello, steel drum, or I'm trying to remember. I always forget what that drum is that guy that we talked about, Keisha. This was like a few months ago.
Hang drum.
Hand drum. Yeah, like a hand.
Yes.
It's like a dome.
Thing.
It's a dome on the top, and then you just hit it with your
Got
hands.
like divots.
Yeah, so it's a hang drum. HANG.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, drummer.
Yeah, got it. I want one, but they're so expensive.
They are pricey.
Oh, I'm sure.
They are pricey.
The thing looks like it's made out of just pure, like,
Yeah, it's like
piece of brass.
Brass bowls like welded to each other with like the divots, like you said.
Yeah, it sounded so cool.
I know.
Yeah. So there's like that was kind of something I heard, and then there were other instruments in there that I'm not quite sure what they were. They might be some sort of instrument that's native to Ukraine or that region, because I don't know what it was. It had a very unique and distinct sound, but it was not anything.
What did it sound like? Is it string? Is it a whistle? Is it a
It
horn?
was string. I was actually listening to it earlier and I don't remember what it was, so I'm gonna just like kind of fast forward to it
it's great that you can hear it and we can't, but you're able to explain it right now.
I know it's weird. I'm listening to it, so it sounds kind of like it would be like a cello type instrument. It's a stringed instrument of some sort, but it's not. I'm pretty sure it's not a cello. There is, I think, cello in the song, but this instrument sounds like it's a lower range than a cello. I honestly have no idea what it is. This is the thing about this show that I wish. So one of the things that I've done lately is when somebody else is talking about a song or an artist, I've been pulling it up on Spotify and I've got the volume really low so I can hear the song while you're talking about it. And it's like almost kind of what I do with Song of the Week, except for in real time. Mm-hmm. And I wish so badly that we could just do that with the show. But unfortunately, because of copyright, it's just not possible. Because it would make it probably a lot easier for our audience to have.
You're picking apart. What is that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the best I can kind of do is put the song into this playlist, which it's already there, and then share it, and then tell our listeners and our audience to go check out the playlist and listen to the song and see if you can. That's a cool
little thing to do, though. You listen to this first, and you turn on your Spotify playlist.
True.
Yeah. So, I can hear it because I've got the earbud in and it's just playing through that. But I don't honestly know what it is. It's a stringed instrument of some sort, but it doesn't quite sound like a cello to me. So, like I said, there's a lot of different things going on in that song, though, because you've got the harmonica, the cello, the steel drum, the guitar, the vocals are fantastic as well. You have to really listen to it to understand, but it really has a soul vibe. But then they have other stuff that's very different from that, depending on what you listen to. So it's kind of, it's all over the place as far as what you're going to get. And they have a lot of really great songs. And I listened to a few of them and added them to the playlist. So, if you want to check out any of their other stuff, it'll be in there. So that was one artist that I listened to. And then, I'm going to save the third artist for the end. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll do that one now because I know Keisha has been listening to them. So the other artist I had on here, and I don't know if they pronounce their name Go A, but it's Go_A. Mm-hmm. But their bio, they describe their description of themselves is that they combine Ukrainian vocals, modern electronic dance beats, African drums, and powerful guitar, as well as some other instruments. Their track with the most plays on Spotify is a track called Shum, Shum. There's definitely an interesting mix of that electronic with there's some songs that have some distorted guitar that I'm like, well, this is a really interesting mix of different sounds in this particular song. Very interesting stuff. I sent the playlist to Keisha earlier so she could listen to it, and almost immediately you texted back and were like, Go A, and I was like, have you heard of them? Because I hadn't heard of any of these groups before today, so I was like, I'm more curious about this. But you had apparently discovered them a few weeks ago.
Yes, because Kayla has me on TikTok all the time. So, and what that song is about Shum, I think it translates to noise. in English, which is very fitting. Not because it's a terrible song, but because like the sounds that they're making in this song are so cool. It's used heavily in TikTok memes for various content creators. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that's how I segued into listening to the entire song, and then went to be like, what other tracks do they have? Because they're giving me, we grew up in a small town in the 90s. They're giving me Harvard Lane's vibes. They're giving me like, this is definitely what we would have listened to during that time. But it's I don't know if like electric folk is like the best way to describe it. It is definitely, it's more dance to me. It's more electric dance than it is folk, but I get the folk approach to lyrics, I suppose. It's like that weird thing that Florence and the Machine has. She's very folky, but then there are some songs where I'm like, not really.
Right. Right.
So that song in particular, I thought it's just very fun, in more on the dance side of things.
Right.
The other song, I think the song, it translates to the sun, and I believe it's called Sunset is the way to pronounce the track. And that one's so much more lively, and it feels bright, not fun, but it definitely feels bright, and a little bit more of a quicker pace. And a lot of these had me like looking at the lyrics and what are they talking about? And then of course that's the rabbit hole I go down, because I want to not only understand the lyrics, but I would challenge myself to learn how to sing this song in Ukrainian. Like that's the level I want to get to with some of these tracks, is forcing me to pick up on how to actually sing it. Because that's just another way of working your brain. But I was like, electro folk, over here you'd be electric dance.
Yeah.
Which is
it is interesting.
Very much in Europe, there is a heavy, like, maybe that's it, because in Europe, electronic is the lay of the land.
Right.
It's more prominent. Right. So that's just like the standard. And then it's like, and this.
Yeah. It's, that track in particular is very interesting because there's also like a flute of some sort in there.
Yes.
I don't know if it's, I don't think it's a regular flute, like concert band kind of flute. I think it's like
a recorder.
Yeah, I was going to say like a penny whistle, but I don't think that's it. Yeah, it's another one. I mean, it's hard to describe because it's clearly a flute of some sort, but not the type of flute that I think the average person probably thinks of when you say the word flute. And then the vocals are like, there's like a driving dance beat to it. And then there's some distorted guitar in there, and you've got this flute instrument that's playing continuously throughout the whole thing, and then kind of more poppy vocals. So yeah, it is kind of interesting that they describe themselves as like some of these bands that are considered folk. And it's like, that's an interesting description for that type of music, because that's not really what I picture when I hear the words folk. I picture like town meeting, that's to me, that's folk,
But even some of the black metal songs and ones that I have teed up still to talk about, there is definitely a folk element even in the black metal bands and everything that they have, because the other two that I've one of them in particular, heavy on that flute, or has like a fiddle or a harpsichord, and we're talking black metal, and it has that. So there is this folk element, like that it's quite prevalent in a number of the different bands that I discovered, and I'm on just the metal focus, and you're finding it in electronic, or you're finding it, in these other spaces. So there's definitely a folk element that it finds its way into all the music avenues, it seems, because my research didn't go there, but you're seeing it. I found it in the metal world, and it's all sounds similar.
Interesting. So I'm
cool.
curious as to the other groups that you've got there, because when I pictured black metal, I don't picture flute or or like violin. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll digress over here.
Okay.
First one that I want to mention that isn't quite as folk is the band called 1914, the year. And I have heard this band. I didn't realize they were Ukrainian. So when I saw them in the list, I'm like, oh, no kidding. But they are really heavy. If you're a metal listener, Flesh God Apocalypse sounding heavy. They have a horn section behind the band like Septic Flesh does. So it's like this big, wall of heavy music, like distorted guitar, blasting drums, black metal vocals, but it has like this horn section right behind the band, like pushing through and filling in every other gap that wasn't there.
Wow.
So it's pretty interesting. And I copied some text off of the band subpage. They are on Napalm Records currently, which is how I discovered them. I follow Napalm Records. No wonder I saw about this band like a year ago, and I'm like,
Sure.
Now I didn't realize you're Ukrainian. It says Ukrainian blackened death doom metal.
I love that.
Yeah, that's like the category. 1914, they continued to reflect the gruesome tales of World War I, its soldiers' fate, their death, the fear, the feats to never be forgotten, and unleash their new opus. This new album that just came out in this past October, is their third album. It has 11 tracks. And both highly acclaimed amongst critics and create a sophisticated variety of massively brutal black and death metal, accented by dramatic and realistic audio soundscapes, and disquieting melodies spiced with the approach of sludge and doom! Exclamation point.
Okay. Wow.
I'm imagining whoever wrote this had a great time.
Great time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're excited.
Yeah. And then, unlike their previous works, this new album, Where Fear and Weapons Meet, is not about death, but about life. Most of the heroes and protagonists in their song survived war, became heroes, and finally returned home. So the first two seems to be like the brutality of World War One. That's just like the theme that they're in for each of their songs. This new album obviously is on the other end, and everyone that came back. So I've only heard one track here or there, so I knew of the group, but I didn't realize that they had a whole theme to the entire thing. Another group that I'm a fan of, Carrick Engren out of the Netherlands, they have each album is a theme, and they pick, and every song goes through the full story. So every album is a full story, front to back, and
Right.
it progresses, and this whole protagonist, antagonist, the whole thing all the way through, and every album's different. I find it interesting. They're on their third album, they're still talking about World War One as like that's exactly whatever it is. So interested to learn more, because it's knowing that and going back to listen, I'd be curious to know more about the lyrics and how that all translates. Certainly being a history buff myself, so I'm intrigued on that front. So yeah, right. So there's that. So there's one of the groups that I had come up with, but again, not on the folk end. They just had a good horn section behind them. Doesn't classify as folk, but the other one does.
Okay.
And this is the one that has really surprised me. The band's called Nocturnal Mortum, Nokturnal Mortum. The band was founded in 1991, had numerous names and changed them because other bands already had the name, which is always a pain. Suppuration was the first name, then they changed it to Crystalline Darkness, but then that one was already taken, and they settled on Nocturnal with the K because there was another band had it with the C, and so they're like, screw this, we're just gonna. We're making this one letter change so we can actually have your own name. So I get the struggle. Anyway, they have an album that came out in 2017 called Verity. And this thing is wild because the YouTube video is like the collection. It's like the full album and it goes through each of the tracks. And I only made it I went through the intro and I went through the first track, and it was 12 minutes. And it is black metal, but it's got some very native and tribal elements to it. It's got whistles, fiddle, harpsichord. It's almost got like you're out like back to nature because it's got like loons, like loon calls in the background of in the intro. And so it's like you're going to nature, and it's like returning to the earth. I love this. It's it's a weird, like with the animal sounds and everything, like, and some of the other instruments making it more folk. It reminded me some of Native American music. In a sense, in the very native and tribal essence, but and then they turn to Behemoth. So, like, if you know Behemoth, it's like Behemoth and blast beats, drums, and then like it's crazy. It's crazy in a good way. It's very impressive. My favorite part of that. First full song I listened to, the band's crazy, and then the music cuts out, and then it's just bird wings, like it's flying by, and like there's a quick pause, and then it's right back into the music again, and I'm
jeez,
that's cool.
It's blowing my mind.
That's cool. That's like it's a pulse break. What it is, like
but
it's a BPM break. Just like a quick recovery and then back into it.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. I just picture like a Black Raven or something. Like it just what the heck? It's crazy. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
I'm disappointed that track is not on Spotify, because I just looked and the only song of theirs that's on Spotify is called Family Vault, and it looks like it might be off of a compilation album of some sort.
They've been around for a while, I'm sure. Yeah,
so I don't know that we're going to be able to add too much of their stuff to our playlist, unfortunately. But yeah, you'll have to. Our audience will have to go look it up.
Sneak peek. It's my song of the week. We'll figure it out.
Oh, well then it'll be a snippet of it will be put in there. I was thinking I'd put it in here, but I guess we'll just wait until the end of the show when we get to song of the week. Oh, jeez. Well, there you have it. No, it sounds incredible. I can't wait to hear it, which obviously I'm going to definitely hear it at this point. That's just like, I can't think of too many bands with that kind of instrumentation and like mix of instruments within that genre is just very unusual. I think
I've never heard anything like it, and it's blowing my mind. I'm like, what else do you have? Because this is just, I went with their more recent record as opposed to some of their older ones.
Sure.
I'd want to know what they're doing now as opposed to where they started.
Sure.
And the 2017 one was like, whoa, that's cool. It was
that's
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Nice. Looking forward.
Felt like a journey that you went on.
Yeah, I did. I only had 10 minutes. there's a lot more to that album. This thing's an hour and 15 minutes long. Like, I got way more to go for.
Wow. I can't even begin to fathom what
it's going to be a trip.
Experience after that trip.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be definitely worth a listen. And
guaranteed listen at this point.
Yes, yeah. We'll put a clip of it at the point that we get into Song of the Week, but I might have to link that in the description of the show so that people can find that more easily if they want to go listen to it, because it's not, from what I can see, on Spotify, which is unfortunate. So
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
yeah, sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's good stuff that that is not on Spotify and we can't add it to the playlist, but we can still link it. So if you want to check it out, we'll put the link in the description of the
It's
show.
so underground, it's not even on Spotify.
With my pinky in the air. Okay.
Which is it's rare, especially where
True.
you're saying it's a band that's been around for a long time, because
Yeah.
I'm finding artists that are like somebody who's fairly recently started recording music and is promoting themselves on TikTok, and they've got like a dozen songs on Spotify, but then there's a band that's got multiple albums and they're not on Spotify at all, which
Crazy.
I assume is probably just a like preference of the band or something, because I think these days it's so easy to put your music on there. But maybe they're looking to sell the albums as opposed to having people go listen to the whole song. Although
Maybe.
it sounds like it's over on YouTube, so
It might work
Yeah.
out better for them that way.
yeah, who knows? Probably
this
more views.
particular album has 392,000 views.
See, even that though doesn't seem like much in the grand scheme.
No.
I mean, that's Keisha and I had that conversation about Cole McGuinness, and it's like this guy's producing phenomenal music, and his videos only have like 750,000 views,
frustrating.
which sounds like a lot, but it's really not in the grand scheme when you think about other artists
Yeah.
that have music out there and the number of views that those people are getting on the various platforms. But yeah, I don't know. Well worth checking out. I'm very excited to check that song out just based on the description of it, because it sounds
I
very
would-
unique.
Yeah, just start at the intro and just let it play.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
Okay.
Nice. Looking forward to it.
I know. I feel like I should be out in the woods or something while I listen to this. Like, there's
I don't know. You might
creating
hear.
environments.
They do it
They do
quite
it for
well
you?
with audio. You don't need to be outside unless you want like a breeze. Just put a fan on oscillate or something and just like full
Open your
immersion.
window.
Right, yeah. Like set the environment. What am I? Where am I? What do I need to feel? What am I drinking? What am I
Yeah.
doing?
Yep, that's pretty good.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nice. So, I've got one more, which is a band that's considered rock, but I think in the grand scheme of what you just described is probably more on the folk side than the rock side in comparison. Voily Vidoplisova. They, for short, they go by VV.
Oh, thank
I can
goodness.
spell it, but it's also a very long
Thank
spelling.
you.
So it's VOILE VIDOPLIASSOVA.
Okay,
Vidoplisova?
sounds good to me.
Sure. Sorry. I apologize to all Ukrainians for my awful pronunciation here. So these guys have also been around for a while. They actually formed in 1986 in Kiev, and they're considered a rock neo-ethnic rock group. One of their top played songs on Spotify is called Becha, Becha. It has, interestingly enough, so it's another one of those, is kind of a like odd instrumentation, or at least odd compared to what I'm used to. It has a mix that kind of fits more of a like 90s alt rock vibe. There's an accordion in there, and then there's a solo in it that I think might be kazoo, but I'm not 100% sure. It sounded like kazoo to me, but it could be something else. Super, super catchy tune. I ended up finding myself kind of listening to some more of their stuff. The second song that, like, this kind of went in a different direction, and there is absolutely zero way I'm going to be able to pronounce this because the title of it is in Ukrainian. Like, you know, I don't know if Ukrainian and Russian characters are the same, but to me it looks like Russian characters. It could be either or, because it seems like there was one group, and it may have been this group, that their songs were in Russian and they've been working to translate their catalog into Ukrainian. So I think it might have been this group, but in, I guess, English, it translates to Den, D-E-N apostrophe, Narodzenia, Narodzhennya, and it's off the album called The Dance Collection. And this song had a very ska feel to it, like Real Big Fish kind of vibes. Then there was a cool breakdown toward the middle of the song. But I can't tell you what the song's about or what the lyrics are, because this was one song that I could not find an English translation for online for this particular song. Although now that I think of it, I probably could have taken the lyrics that were posted and put them into Google Translate and done a rough translation of them. But I mean, I don't necessarily need to know what the lyrics are to find it to be a good song, though. It's still very, very catchy. It's very upbeat. Very different from Beisha, which is like a little bit more, I guess, in kind of a rock genre. And then this is more of an upbeat ska kind of feel. They had some other stuff that was like it's all a little bit different, but super, super cool music that those guys are putting out, and I highly recommend checking them out. And again, I apologize immensely for my inability to pronounce the names of these groups and most of their songs, but just know that I've put most of these songs into the Spotify playlist, so if you want to just go listen to them without having to try and decipher my crappy pronunciation of their songs and, you know, be able to find them, that work has been done for you. So just the description of the show, we'll put the link to the playlist into that, and I'll add some of the songs. I've already been adding some of the songs that Ted has talked about, as long as it's on Spotify. But yeah, we'll add some songs there, and I highly recommend checking out all of the songs that we've talked about today. Keisha, did you, I didn't even think to ask you, did you have any artists that you wanted to talk about that we didn't discuss? Because I know we kind of also like reeled you in at the last minute here, so I don't want to
put you on the spot if you didn't prepare. It's fine.
No, this is fine. We're fine. It's fine.
What do you got?
Tell me the truth. No, I've really been stuck on that band.
Go A.
Go A, or How Hey, or however it's pronounced. Because that vibe is something that it's very representative of some of the songs that I typically listen to.
Sure.
And I was really they've represented Ukraine in the Eurovision. Eurovision has like a competition for like new song or like best songs, and they like placed like fifth out of all of the countries that participated. Oh, wow. So that particular song, Noise, that's really fascinating that it's had that much of an impact and how it's still translating now, especially on TikTok for the best of reasons. But I find myself I will be downloading a lot of their tracks going forward, just because I think that they're incredibly fun. And like I said, they just give me something it feels nostalgic to me, and I don't know why. I really don't know why, but I'm a fan.
They got good stuff.
Fan.
Yeah, they're very different than some of the other groups we've talked about in this episode, but well worth a listen. I mean, and that doesn't even, like I said, I've been putting together a playlist of songs that I've listened to over the last few days, and there's a lot of other artists that I didn't talk about this episode that I certainly could have, that are in that playlist, and it's kind of all over the place. There's everything from hip hop. There was one artist I was telling Ted about earlier. We were kind of texting, and I had looked at her bio, and I think, trying to remember, I think it was, nope, not this one. I'm just going through the playlist trying to remember which artist it was, but it was a woman. She's a hip hop artist, but I'm pretty sure her bio said that she was a like nursery school teacher previously. Which
would have been the coolest teacher, to be honest.
Yeah, talk about an interesting translation from being a nursery school teacher to like a hip hop artist who seems fairly well known.
I'm sure if she could make some funny raps because
I'm about to say, I bet her bars are awesome because she has a lot of material.
Exactly my point. That's where I was going with it.
She's got material. She's got experience.
True.
She's got stuff to work with.
True. I can't remember. I should have made a note of which artist it was, but I'm pretty sure I probably put some of her stuff into the playlist here. But if I didn't, I will find her music and I'll put some stuff in there because I thought she had one of the more interesting bios just because she went from being a nursery school teacher to a hip hop artist. So there's definitely a very wide range of styles of music in that playlist right now. So yeah, it'll be well worth checking out. And on that note, believe it or not, I think we're at the point where we might want to head into our song of the week picks here, unless there's anything either one of you wanted to add that we haven't already touched on.
No, I just reiterate, it was a pretty fun experience to take a deep dive into the music realm for it's a part of the world that we don't normally get to have a lot of exposure to, and definitely enjoyed the experience. And it was good without going completely into any more politics.
Yeah.
Trying to keep it on this side.
Keep it on the lighter side.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm sure we'll continue to explore. Like now it's like the door's open. Keep going.
Yeah. I was like, well,
right?
I saw plenty of other band names. I'm like, what else you got?
Right?
Yeah.
We're gonna keep going.
Yep.
Ted could
You're
curate
suggesting
a
me
YouTube
another
playlist.
Ukrainian artist with the same sound? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. There's so much stuff out there, and I think we probably just scratched the tip of the iceberg with some of these artists.
A dust of the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, like an ice cube. Very, very, very small part of like all the artists that are out there were covered tonight. So definitely, like I said, we'll put a link into the description of the show so you can go check out some of the artists off of that Spotify playlist. And then on that note, when we head into our song of the week here, just a reminder, we also have a Spotify song of the week playlist, and we put the link to that in the description of every episode. If you're watching the video version of the show, we also put a Spotify scan code on the screen. All you have to do is open Spotify on your phone or mobile device and tap the camera icon in the search bar and hold it to the screen. It'll send you right to our playlist. We've got very, very wide variety of songs over there too, and it's about to get even more eclectic with our picks for this week, I'm sure, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. So if you want to check out any of our picks for this week or any of our previous picks, be sure to check out the Song of the Week playlist as well. And then on that note, if you want, I'll just go ahead and give mine, and then we'll kind of go around. So
Ed already told us his, so take all the time you need.
We kind of had a bit of a giveaway.
I'll be short, I promise. I'll be brief.
Yeah, there we go. Spoiler alert. So my artist, actually, I went with somebody we didn't talk about tonight, although I certainly could have talked about this artist. And the song is called Zenit, Zenit, by Onuka, Onuka, off of the 2021 album Kolir, Kolir. And this group consists of Eugene Filatov and Nata Zayshenko, and their music is described as an organic mix of electronica, modern pop, and again, Ukrainian folk. That's a term, a description, a genre that I've seen come up many, many times. But the song opens with some really intense flute, which is not a description I ever thought I'd use.
Intense flute.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Say that again.
Wow, intense flute.
Opens with intense flute, and if you hear the song, you'll understand why I describe it that way, because I don't know how else to describe it. It's not like, classical style flute. It's intense. And some heavy drums. Even sounds like there might be some low brass in there somewhere. And then the vocals come in and it becomes a bit more poppy and electronic, but it kind of goes back and forth between that intense flute and drums and brass and the poppy electronic sound throughout the whole song. And then at one point at the end of it, it sounds like they might have a children's choir singing some parts as well. So that was kind of interesting. But it's as with a lot of the music that I found listening to the different Ukrainian artists, it's a very unique blend of different sounds and instruments and styles, and that's all just in one song. That's not even the other songs that are part of that artist's catalog. So highly recommend checking it out. Very, very cool song. Again, it's called Zenit by Onuka. And that came out on the 2021 album Collier. So that is my song of the week pick. Ted, I don't know if you want to...
I didn't say the name of the song, but...
okay.
So, yes, my pick is Nocturnal Mortem, their 2017 album Verity, and the track is called Molfa, and that's the English word or translation, I suppose, pronunciation, I guess, Molfa. And in English, that translates to the talisman or the amulet. And this song is bonkers. It starts like slow, but it's got whistle, flute, maybe probably flute. It's got all sorts of stuff, and it's folky, but it's driving heavy metal, but it's got like all these other instruments supporting it, and it's pretty awesome.
Nice.
It's unreal. It's my new favorite song right now.
Awesome.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Awesome.
I'm listening to it now, and I'm like, I can't even describe this. It sounds like Behemoth, but it's not Behemoth. It's Behemoth with like folk on it.
Which is such an odd thing to think
until
about.
you hear it and you're like, wow, it does
I can't
work.
wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is, but I really like it.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think for me, one, I just discovered that to culminate the style of music that this is, I saw a definition called folktronica, and I was like, that I can live with.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Okay.
Folktronica, yes. So seems like we're all dancing around that type of theme. And I didn't know if I was going to go with a different artist because I didn't know if they were just, it was hard to find out if they were just a DJ, just remixing various songs, or they actually have tracks. Very difficult to find out. But if they are, they're associated with a Ukrainian boxer that I love watching, who is outstanding, one of the greatest boxers to ever live. His name is Vasily Lomachenko. He's outstanding. He is active in helping out his country at the moment. So shout out to him. But whoever this person does the music for his walkout when he's competing. Yeah.
Okay.
So whoever you are, shout out to you, because I couldn't find anything that that was tied to them. I'm going to go back to this group that I've been listening to for weeks now, but I'm going to choose a song that I just got exposed to because of Kayla's playlist that she sent to me, and the song is called Colori Fabre, and it translates to colored paint. And if I were to listen to this, I feel like I wish I had a mural that I could literally color with all of the paint, with the amount of sound, with the distortion and the energy that's happening in this. Like, give me buckets of paint and I will paint this wonderful mural listening to this jam. And then I hope it glows in the dark when it turns off the lights, because that's where it's really going to come to life.
Okay. I mean, Tronica, so.
Tronica.
Yeah, I got it. It makes sense.
So that's definitely thanks to Kayla for putting me on that one. But yeah, that's gonna be my pick of the week. I was like, that's the one I'm gonna have the most fun with.
Nice.
Awesome. So I think we've got a lot of very interesting music that we've discussed, and hopefully our audience is inclined to go listen to and support some of these Ukrainian artists. And again, without trying to make it too political, there are a lot of ways that you can support those artists and the people of Ukraine right now. So, that information is out there.
I plan on doing a cooking thing. That's fun.
Sounds good.
Yes. So this is our kind of our small way of trying to support the Ukrainian artists in some way. So definitely go give their stuff a listen, any of the artists we've talked about in this episode, and just go do a search on Ukrainian artists and music, and you will find lots and lots of music out there to listen to. That, I mean, the possibilities are endless. And if you're like us and you live over on this side of the world, you probably have not heard any of that stuff before. So there's a whole other world of very, very good and interesting music out there. So well worth a listen. Mm-hmm. So on that note, as a reminder, if you missed the last couple of episodes, we are going to be taking a hiatus when we reach episode 104. This is
only episode 93. Don't worry, we
Yep.
still got time.
Still got 11 episodes. So we do still have some time. If you have an idea for a show, or if you want to be on a show with us, there is an opportunity to get in on that, because we're not as far ahead in recording as we were. So you can reach out to us, and there are a variety of different ways you can do that. But the easiest way to find us is to just go to our Linktree URL, which is linktr.ee/distorted opinions. That has the links to all of our social media platforms, our email, our YouTube, which we're still trying to hit 100 subscribers on, our Anchor page where you can leave us a voicemail, a list of all the places that you can listen to the show in audio only format. Everything is in that Linktree link, linktr.ee/distorted opinions. So be sure to head over and check that out and send us a message or leave us a comment if you've got any ideas or want to be involved in a show. On that note, thank you both for joining me this episode and helping highlight some of these fantastic Ukrainian artists. And thank you to our audience for tuning in. And we look forward to bringing you a new episode next week. We'll see you then.